this picture of a fall backpacking trip. Who do you recognize in this picture? Bill Van Everett, rocking a goatee back that year. And hey, who else? Jennifer Goen up over here, another faculty sponsor, and me. I'm here. All the rest of these goofballs have now graduated from college, except Ryan, who went into the special forces and served overseas. And you'll see in a picture later, he's rocking this trip without a shirt. And he did things for a senior project go live in Death Valley by himself in a tent and run 20 miles a day. He was pretty hardcore. So when we doing there, he is shirtless running around. When we go on these trips, I plan out an itinerary. How fast should I plan for the group to hike? How much distance should we cover? Miles per hour. How fast do you think I should plan on the group hiking? 3 miles an hour? 4 miles an hour? Depends on the terrain is true. Which person in the group should I look at for if I'm trying to plan out how fast we're going to go? The slowest. Why? Okay. If we're going hiking and one kid just can't go that fast, we can't just leave them behind in the woods. Can't be well, good luck, Timmy. See you maybe. That we can't just leave that kid behind. Okay. We have to go all as a group. So the title for today's notes, okay, is you hike as fast as slowest person. Write that down as a valuable thing to have learned today in school. When you plan to go on any kind of outdoor adventure, you plan to go as fast as the slowest member of your group. Generally, when I plan those hikes, I plan for about 1 mile an hour to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. Before I've met the group, I'm I think we can meet this floor. I'd rather have us get to camp a little bit early and have extra time to set up in the light than get there in the dark. So it's better to underplan than overplan, especially with these first couple trips. Let's do some science. Okay, Julia, come on back here and tell us the mass of this little rock. Write this down in your notebooks. 24.10 grams. 24.10 grams. You're not done yet? Now, what is the volume before we put the rock in there? Eyeball that.
170.
Alright. And now we're going to try and put it in the way that doesn't cause the water to fall all out. Okay. What is the volume now?
174 milliliters.
So what is the volume of the rock? You're done. Thank you very much. So we said the volume was 4 milliliters and the mass was 20 what? 24.10 grams. How would I get the density of the rock? No. Divide. Density is mass divided by volume. How much weight there is per unit area. Okay, so reaching for your calculators, 24.10 divided by 4 equals 6.025 grams per milliliter. How confident are you of the 4 milliliters? Kind of. Could it have been 3.9?
Sure.
Could it have been 4.1? Okay. People over here calculate what the density would have been had it been 4.1. People over there calculate what it would have been if it had been 3.9. If we had done slightly different numbers because we weren't really sure 24 point this divided by 3.9 or 24.1 divided by 4.1, what do we get when we do those entirely possible calculations if we have more precise? Bridget. Okay, and that is if you divide by 4.1, 5.878. If we divide it by 3.9, what will we get?
6.18.
6.18. when you do problems on your calculator, it always gives you a lot of sig figs. It gives you a lot of information. If we had said, the density of quartz is 6.025, that sounds super smart and super precise, but what would we probably have been doing? Being wrong, being inaccurate, bragging, claiming something we didn't actually know. Oh, it's 6.025. I'm so smart. Like, no, it's probably not. Okay? We probably can't claim. How many sig figs do we have in this answer down here? 4. We probably can't claim 4 sig figs. How many sig figs do we have in our starting number here? 4. How many do we have in our volume? 1. How many can we really be confident of in this answer? Probably just 1. Because given our variation, if we just claim that the density is 6 grams per milliliter, we're right to all of these within 1 sig fig. If we don't try and overstate our case, we limit our case to 1 sig fig, we're right no matter how that last tenth was. Yeah. Probably less. Probably like 4. This is a weird, quick example. When you are multiplying or dividing with numbers that are actual measured quantities that have actual sig figs, it's a lot like the hiking rule. Okay, your answer should only have as many sig figs as the least of your factors. When you are multiplying or dividing real measured quantities, now this isn't going to be true when you're taking the tangent in math class or whatever, but when you deal with actual measured quantities in the real world, you don't want to go claiming some subsequently calculated answer that has more sig figs than the original measurement did, or else you're going to wear the scarlet B letter for bragging at scientific conferences. Writing this down in 3, 2, 1. And now let's practice doing it. I have to change the view on my thing here so you guys can see this. So don't write this down. Let's just do this problem first. If I have a garden bed that is 40 centimeters wide by 110 centimeters long, multiply those two numbers on your calculator. Go. There's another blue one right there. 4,400. Okay. Bridget, how many sig figs do I have in the number 40? 1. Mallory, how many do I have in this number here? 3. Nope, just 2, because the trailing 0 isn't significant because the decimal is not there. So Elsa, if we apply this principle, how many sig figs should I have in my answer? Just 1, because that's the least of my factors going in. So if I were to have this just 1 sig fig, Carly, what should the answer be? 4,000. I'm probably only confident of that to 1 sig fig. So 4,000 is all I can say without probably bragging a little bit. Okay. This next one, let's go ahead and write down 38 times 110.16. One of those numbers is super precise. One of those numbers has a lot of sig figs. But one of those doesn't, and that's what's going to limit us if we want to avoid bragging, which we do because we're being sciencey. Because I feel more comfortable with your last name. It's such a fun last name. Lebron, what does your calculator say the answer is here? 4,186.08 sounds super precisey, okay? Because it's got lots of sig figs in it. But, Kaya, how many sig figs do I have in 38? Just 2. How many sig figs do I have in 110.16, Elsa? 5. How many should I have in my answer, Nico? Just 2. So, MK, what would this answer be to just 2 sig figs? not 4,100. 4,200 because the 8 rounds up. Write that down in your notebooks. Write down like equals 4186.08, and then put another arrow over in like Sig Figs 4200. If we're going to be sciencey, we're going to report this with the correct number of Sig Figs. Write this problem down. The more precisely measured width of the garden is 38.0. The length is 126 centimeters. What is a good, reportable, non-bragging answer? Elliot, what is the nonsensical calculator answer for this? 4,788. Okay. Leo, how many Sig Figs do I have here? 3. Carlos, how many Sig Figs do I have here? 3. Julia, how many should I have in my answer? Nathan, what should my answer be? No. This time it's 4,788. Close. 3 Sig Figs. 4,790. Again, write those two different answers down in your notebook to emphasize, like, oh, now we have to change things when we've got the, okay, centimeter squared. Don't want to lose America $300 million by forgetting to write down the units. Yeah, smiling and nodding. Ready to move on in life? Let's do these. Go. Do this calculation in your calculator. 4.6 times 3.430. Elizabeth, what is the calculator answer to this number? 15.778 with 5 significant figures in it there. Okay. Nathan, how many does 4.6 have? Julia, how many does this one have? So, LeBlanc, how many should I have in my answer? So, Kaya, what should my answer be if I want to report this with only 2 significant figures? 16 is correct. Fist bump the person next to you if you get that one. On your own, okay. Let's not do a different calculation. Let's take the same number with a different number of Sig Figs. And you don't have to do your calculator work. You just have to look at this and think about what the better answer would be in this case. Okay. Not having to recalculate, just thinking about it again. Same numbers. Sig Figs have moved. Elsa, how many Sig Figs does 4.60 have? 3. Nico, how many does 3.43 have? 3. Bridget, how many should my answer have? So, Mallory, what should my answer be? No calculator needed. To the board, just think about rounding. If I only have this with 3 numbers showing, what should it be? 15 point. If I'm lopping it off here, does 7 round up or down? 15.8. Smiling, nodding. If I gave you these factors, if I cut this down, I moved all the Sig Figs over here and gave this 4 and this 1, how many Sig Figs should my answer have? 1. What would my answer be in that case? 20. And that's really unappetizing to us. Somehow we hate like lopping off the digits. We're okay getting rid of the decimals. We actually have to get rid of something in the ones place. It feels wrong emotionally, but that is the proper procedure here. If you recalculate it like Leo's eager to do, it doesn't actually multiply to 15.8. It's like 14, which round down, but the point here is that this is expressing that with 1 Sig Fig. Oakley dokley. let's do this with some division as well. Okay. 50 divided by 0.0461. Write the problem down, do the stuff on your calculator, and then do the Sig Fig analysis to get a better answer. Yeah. Let's engage you. Coming this way. Carlos, what does our calculator say the answer to this thing is?
1084.598698.
Clearly more Sig Figs than we need. Okay? Even in elementary school, you knew this was probably more than you needed to write down. When it generates all that gobbledygook. Okay? Leo, how many Sig Figs in the numerator? 3. How many Sig Figs in the denominator, Elliot? These are leading zeros. Leading zeros are never significant, so just 3. So my answer should have how many, MK? 3. We're in the nonverbal communication mode, and so therefore, Elizabeth, what should my answer be? 1,080. 1,080. Smiling, nodding throughout the land. Ready to move on. So, it's holiday. We're going to skip these